Hey, I'm Gene Goldman. Here's a look at the week ahead for the week of September 16th. Well, beginning in March of 2022, the Fed started to raise interest rates to combat inflation. They raised interest rates 11 times through July of last year. They took their primary interest rate, the Fed funds rate, from close to zero to a level of 5.25% to 5.5%. Well, now it's time for the Fed to start cutting interest rates. So the big event this week is that the Fed meets on Tuesday and Wednesday to decide whether or not to cut interest rates. So let's discuss 2 points today. Number one, what do we expect the Fed to do? And number two, what changes do we anticipate from the Fed's dot plot? So first, most importantly, we do expect the Fed to cut interest rates. Inflation is headed to the Fed's target of 2%, and the labor market is slowing. You see here, for example, there's a 100% chance that the Fed cuts interest rates. But what you also see here, it's a coin flip in terms of, will the Fed cut rates by 0.25% or the more market-friendly 0.5%? I do think the Fed will err on the side of caution and only cut rates by 0.25%. The labor market is slowing down, but it's not drastically falling. As you see here, for example, there are 1.1 jobs for everyone unemployed. This is pretty close to pre-COVID levels when the economy was pretty strong. It's also well above the long-term average. Also, the overall economy is showing modest economic growth, but no recession in the near term. You see here, for example, the Atlanta Fed GDP now estimates that economic growth this quarter will be in a pretty good 2 to 2.5% level. So, the second point that we will look for from the Fed meeting is, since the Fed will likely cut interest rates, the more important event is, how will the Fed update their dot plot? As a reminder, the dot plot, also known as a summary of economic projections, is a quarterly release where each Fed member anonymously indicates where they see interest rates, economic growth, inflation. It helps to potentially indicate the future Fed plans. What I'll be watching are three things. Number one, in the June dot plot, the Fed suggested basically one rate cut this year. I expect the new dot plot to show 3 cuts this year. Second of all, the long-run estimate of interest rates, basically where the Fed hints where the Fed will be done cutting rates. In June, the dot plot said it would drop by about 2.25 from current levels. I do expect them to update this number to a larger drop. And number three is that, what is their expectation of the labor market this year? How high will the unemployment rate be this year? Because back in June, they said it would be at 4%. We're already higher. Will the Fed raise it to above that 4% level? So the big takeaway this week, it's a very pivotal shift in Fed policy. They're going from raising rates to cutting rates. More importantly, watch the dot plot to indicate the Fed's future plans. Thank you for listening. For more information, please follow us on X at Cetera IM. See you next week. Thank you so much.